Hello guys, and today I'll be teaching you how to script, some basic things on how to script in Roblox. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna log into your account. I'm logged into my account in Roblox Studio. So you wanna click on New here, and click on Baseplate or Flat Terrain. I'm just gonna click on Baseplate. Okay, so inside our base plate, we're going to be learning how to do some basic scripting. So one of the basic things you'll need to use in Roblox Studio a lot. I know I know I'm saying basic, but trust me, you're going to be using this a lot in your scripts. We're going over some simple things. So the first thing is we're gonna learn how to change properties. So basically what I mean by that is you see all the properties of a part or like an object. We're gonna be learning how to change those using scripts, and it's gonna be really important because you're going to be changing properties and using most of the stuff in this video a lot during scripting. So yeah. So the first step is to just go into the workspace, and you can type in, again, I just add a script. So inside your script, you may get something like this. You're just going to want to delete this. Now, well, probably didn't need to delete it, but whatever. So one of the most basic things that you're kind of sometimes going to be using, it's still pretty important, is this print function here. So if I put something inside this function, we'll just type in some gibberish here, and if I run the game by clicking on this button here, as you can see, when the game runs, as you can see, it says the gibberish that we put in the console. So yeah. So we can get rid of this. You can change this thing to something else. So we could do YouTube, something like that. Just make sure it's in these marks. Just get rid of them. It's gonna have a blue line, and it's not gonna work. So another thing we're gonna go over is variables. They're basically things that can store something. So for example, let's just say you wanted to store a number. You can make a variable to store that, and make sure you could have just typed in the number, but variables allow you to change that number without actually variables. It's just a lot more convenient. So I'll show you how to make a variable. So you have to type in local, and then you have to do your variable name. I'll just type in number, and then this will and now you have to put an equal sign, and then you have to put the value of your variable. Now since this is a number, I'm just going to put it to 6, and then we can actually print this variable. So we can type in print, and you can put number. Now notice how I didn't put any of these marks. The reason why we don't put that is that we don't want to print we don't want to print number. We want to print the the variable's value, not number. We want to print 6. So that's the reason why we do that. We can also change your number to be a string, so maybe you can just put in some more gibberish. I'll do the exact same thing as if we put this into here. So if we run this, as you can see, it does our gibberish we put in. There's also another thing where you can actually print two variables in a print thing. So let's just make another number. Just make this gibberish if you want. I'll just make it gibberish. But let's just say you wanted to print both of these. Well, you could make another and put in that. But let's say you wanted to put it in the same line, the same print statement. Well, what you can do is you can do dot 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 and dot dot and then whatever in there, and then you could do you could just type in this thing. So I'll just copy and paste it. Copy and paste, you have to highlight it, right click on copy, and just throw it right there. And now if you run, you can, now if you run, it'll say our gibberish confined, and you can also put a space in your gibberish. So now it's like an actual sentence, I guess, sentence, quote unquote. Yeah, you can put a little space, and yeah. So yeah, and now you can also use variables to reference objects. So we're just going to reference the base plate. So normally, how you can reference objects is you have to type in game workspace dot baseplate, and that's how you get this object. You can change some properties like anchored. As you can see, it's checked. If we make it anchored equal to true, it'll make this checkbox equal to true, and if it's already equal to true, don't worry, it'll just reset. So right now, since it's anchored, when the script runs, it'll basically do nothing. I mean, it'll set it to true, but since it was already true, it'll basically do nothing. So yeah, that's normally how you reference objects. Or sometimes you can type in workspace.baseplate, and then it's the exact same thing. You can change the shape. You can change the shape. You can also do it in variables, so we can just type in. We can make our baseplate variable, baseplate workspace.baseplate, and then we can type in baseplate, and it'll basically be the same thing. We'll set its C frame. Well, yeah, actually, you guys don't know C frame, so I probably shouldn't confuse you on that. Well, like, if you know C frame, then cool, but if you're a beginner and you don't know, then, you know, yeah. So, we can make this can collide off, and what we'll do, it'll make it so we can fall and walk through the base plate. So, essentially, we're just gonna fall through the base plate when we spawn in. So if we join, we're just gonna fall, and then we're just gonna fall through the base plate, and we're just gonna go into the void and die. So yeah, you can also reference objects by other objects and other things like the star GUI or the replicated storage by typing maybe game and then whatever you want to reference it. So we can do the replicated storage, and if the base plate, and we can just do that. So, I mean, we won't be able to see the base plate, because if you want to see objects, you have to put it in the workspace. The others, it won't work. So yeah, yeah, that's like mostly a lot of the basics. So yeah, here we'll just put the base plate back into the workspace, and we'll change this to workspace.baseplate. So putting it to false will uncheck it if you didn't know. And then if you want to do this kind of thing, you can, like this kind of thing where there's like a drop down menu, you can select what shape it is. We'll get that drop menu property, and then we actually have to set it to one of these things. So we can set it to ball. You can also use something called enum sometimes. You can also sometimes use enum. I don't think it worked with shape though, so we're gonna have to name it. We'll just set this to a ball. It's gonna be really weird when we run the game, because the base plate is basically gonna be a ball. I'm curious. Oh my, yeah, the base plate looks really weird. Yeah, that's like, God, we're floating. Yeah, some weird stuff can happen, I guess. Oh my, why are we floating? This is so cursed. Oh my gosh. Dang, yeah, you can do some crazy stuff with Roblox. to. I never knew you could even do this. Like, I knew you could do this, but like I never knew this would happen if you literally changed it to a ball. This is very weird. But anyways, not. Oh my. But anyways, let's stop the game and get rid of that. Oh my gosh. Base dot shape. We can try to put the shape to a cylinder. Let's see how this turns out. Can type. So, I mean, can't we just change it here? Yeah, we can try to change it here. And oh my, you can do some crazy stuff. Dang. Oh my gosh. Okay, but yeah. So that's basically how most of the properties you are going to be using work. So yeah, that's how you make variables. There's also, I should also go over lists. Lists are basically what they are. They're lists, and they can store multiple lines of data. So we just make our list. We can just type in list, and you have to make this kind of bracket thing, and then we have to press enter, and then we can just store data in this. So I can just say save the number 6 in this, and then maybe we'll store 8. To store multiple lines of data, you have to do a comma or this. Although I recommend a comma if you're doing it like this. Although if you're doing it like a variable, like you can store variables, I recommend doing this, the semicolon or whatever. But we'll just store that. Okay, so yeah. So how do we actually get this data from the list? What we can do is we have to get the data from the list. We have to type in list, but that's not gonna work. It's gonna give us an error. It's not gonna work. The reason why, we have to get like a specific data. Like, let's say you want to get the 8. Well, how do we do that? We have to type in list 0. Let's say you want to get the second number of data in there. You have to do list 1. And then if we added a third line of data, we would have to do list 2. So we can just run that. So yeah, you can also make it easier to store data by actually making it a variable. So we can keep the commas, although I don't really like keeping the commas and I rather use the semicolon, but it is possible to use them, I'm pretty sure. We'll just change that to that, and then we could still do list 2, but we could also, to make it easier to reference and get objects from our list, we could put a dot, and then we have a list of objects we can get if we put variables in the list. So we'll just get the g variable, which will be 4, and list.g. So that's basically another easier way to reference objects in lists. Because I mean, you're probably gonna use that a lot, because I mean, having to do like the number is gonna be a bit irritating. You can also go through every single number. So for example, let's just say for every single number or data or info inside our list thing, you want to do something. Maybe you want to change the data, maybe you want to change a property, change just something. We can do that by using for loops. So what we can do is you can type in for iv in pairs list. Now I'll explain. So basically, what I is basically what is on in the list. So since this is going to go through every single info or piece of data in the list, I is going to be like the one it's on. So like it's first going to check this. So I'm going to believe either 0 or 1, and it's going to check this. So maybe 1 or 2, and then it's going to check this. So 2 or 3, and then v is like the actual thing, actual object. So like v, since it's gonna loop through the whole entire list, v is gonna, it's gonna look at this first and be like, okay, v is gonna be this one, and then it's gonna go over this one. Okay, then v is gonna be that, and then v is gonna be this. So yeah, so basically we can just type in print v dot dot I. I don't know if that's gonna work. We'll just do that, and we'll type in on dot dot I object. And as you can see, object is gonna be equal to 6, and then it's gonna be on G, and then object's gonna be equal to 4. It's gonna be on, not G, I mean J. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be, then it's gonna be on G, and it's gonna be 4, and it's gonna be on G, and then it's gonna be 8, and it's gonna be N. So yeah. So yeah, that's basically some of the basics. You'll probably be using a lot in code, in like Roblox coding. So I hope you enjoy this first episode of my series, and goodbye.